The question is, would any of this pressure be there if money was no object? If there wasn't pressure to make money, would there be any pressure to go into doing something you don't want to do? Pressure would disappear, right? And in most cases, most people vastly underestimate the number of different opportunities and options you have for making money. Vastly. There are so many ways to make money. And in a lot of cases, our parents, older generations in particular, those opportunities didn't exist while they were growing up. My dad used to constantly get on my brother about playing video games. And you're wasting your time, that's like never gonna do anything for you, go outside. Today, gamers make more money than almost anybody. Gaming is like the biggest industry there is. Like, dude, he should have played more. My dad just didn't know. How could he, right? Like, who knew that there would be Twitch and TikTok and people making money like taking 5-second videos of themselves? Who knew? This is so foreign to even me, frankly, but like for sure people who grew up 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So there is an exponential increase going on right now, exponential in opportunity. And most of us feel as though, when we're growing up in particular, and I felt this way as well, that there are a few paths we can follow, right? You go the corporate route, maybe you like start your own small business of some sort. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, and we sort of feel as though we need to fit into these little boxes. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to provide for ourselves. And what's happening now is that all of the boxes are sort of merging, and there's this vast array of like sub boxes and little, like you can do, and you can combine them and do multiple boxes at the same time and turn it into a new box. There's this incredible explosion in creativity going on. And what has happened in the last 10 years, like back when I started, Basketball Renegades was what it was called 12 years ago. Twitter was brand new. I don't think Instagram even existed. I was like still not really, I think I'd just gotten on Facebook at this point. It was all brand new. There was no such thing as a YouTube short or I think back then, what was the name of that 5-second video company? Vine. Vine was still a thing. People were still probably on MySpace. I had to pay some developer $5,000 to make this janky website. Today, you can make it something incredible for free. It's like nothing. People weren't gaming on Twitch. Like I had no idea any of that stuff would exist. So in the last 10 years, there's been this explosion in opportunity. And what I mean by exponential increase is that over the next 10 years, that explosion will be magnitudes greater. So opportunity is increasing. There's not just these few paths you can take anymore. There's like damn near infinite paths. And there's paths that we have no idea are coming. So my first piece of advice here is to open your mind wide to the possibilities. And I remember when I was in 11th grade, I had third period English, and I was obsessed with training. Like for whatever reason, I don't know why I was geeking out so hard at the time, but I would write training programs for fun and like periodize them over the course of an off season. And I had this little notebook that I'd write these programs in. And so I had my English binder set up with like it said English on the spine and all of my English notes, and then I put my training book inside it so it looked like I was doing English. But the whole time I'm just writing training programs and like doing the math on, okay, if I'm squatting like 205 today, then where will it be by the end of the summer, 6 months from now? And like calculating all this stuff and just geeking out. And I'd go home and I'm reading like Kelly Baggett's articles every night and on this forum. Anyway, didn't do so good in English, which is hilarious because I ended up making money with writing later. And probably got like a D or a C- or something in that class. And in my 5th year of high school, again, I was chilling, right? Like I don't only have a few more credits left. In Ontario, we're allowed to take a 5th year, so we took full advantage. And my days were like, I would kind of wake up, go to class if I wanted to, come home, take a nap, go outside in the backyard, read a book for an hour or something. Friends would come over, we'd go through a workout. It'd take like 2 hours because we're hanging out in the garage and like just being meatheads. Like hang out with my girlfriend, eat dinner, kind of chill, watch a show, go to sleep. And I was living this like very smooth, sort of easy, but life full of things I loved to do. I loved all of that. And I was learning, and like by reading a lot, I was training a lot, I was in really good health and good shape. And I remember sitting out there thinking to myself one day, like, man, if I could just arrange my life somehow so it looked like this, that would be sick. Like what would a job look like where you could just design training programs for a living? And I remember thinking like, well, too bad, better enjoy this while it lasts. And next thing you know, within a year or year and a half, I'm literally writing training programs for a living. We launch Prolific Shooting, create Basketball Renegades, and what do you know, my days are like, wake up, do some work, have lunch, take a nap, go outside, read a little bit, do a workout, hang out with my girlfriend, and I'm living the exact life that I had hoped but didn't believe I possibly could, because I just didn't know the opportunity existed. I had no idea. And the only reason I was able to take advantage of it is because, going back to that Rick Rubin's advice for young people, and that in that interview that we shared, his first piece of advice is don't listen to anybody. And that doesn't mean, again, of course, don't take advice from anybody if you want the advice. Like, you're listening to me right now, and my entire job is to offer you advice. But it's up to you whether you want to take it or not. I'll never pretend to tell you that I know what you should do with your life. That's not my job. My job is to give you advice and leave it up to you as to what you do with it. And most adults, authority figures, most of society way oversteps that boundary. That's the truth. Like, I don't want to get in trouble with anybody's parents, but they do. And my parents, they do it out of caring, of course. They're like, I want to make sure that you're provided for. And that comes out of love, of course, but my parents resisted like crazy when I decided I was dropping out of school. I just didn't listen. And I just did my thing. Again, I don't want to get in trouble here, but basically just stopped going, launched the business, and quit. And they're so happy now that I did that. Now that they know that I'm provided for, it's like, oh, thank God. Like, you know what you're doing, all good. My mom, after I started the business and it became successful, she was so intent on me going back to school, and she called up the university and made sure that they just put me on hold. Like, I had the option of coming back a year later. And as soon as the business took off, she's like, oh yeah, you shouldn't go back to school. Like, don't do that. So, point being, my maybe controversial advice is listen to yourself. And understand, and in some cases, maybe even don't listen to yourself, because we ourselves don't know how much opportunity is coming in the future. And frankly, for that matter, none of us even realize how much opportunity exists right now. Like right now. There are things that you can do to make just about as much money as you could ever want or ever need. And what I want to do in this talk primarily is teach you how to think about money and what money actually is fundamentally. Because once you understand that, you can play with the pieces however you want. And you kind of take control of your destiny, but first you kind of have to like see through the matrix in a sense, because we're taught that money is actually something real. Does anybody have any idea what money actually is?
It's an IOU. Energy.
Energy.
That's what I was going to say. That was the best analogy I'd ever heard someone give me, was money's just energy.
It's a made-up concept.
Most of the money in the world, like I don't even know what the statistic is right now. It's probably scary close to 100%, which has its own problems. Most of the money in the world does not exist. It's like digital numbers on a screen that we've agreed upon as something that we trade for other things, right? Money used to be backed, at least they say it used to be backed, by things like gold and precious metals, things that actually tangibly exist. So we know like, oh, you have this much of it. Now we just decide, we need more money? Okay, well, let's print it, AKA like type into the computer, and now more money exists.
Yeah, now it's backed by military power.
Yeah. It's like, it's such a, well, we won't go into the function of that system. This won't become an economics course. My point is that money is something that we've agreed upon. It's imaginary. And Alan Watts called it, like, he put it in this really funny way. He's like, money is something we've imagined like inches. Like we imagine what inches are. We just measure things. This table is not an inch, but I can measure an inch of it, right? Inches are just this imaginary concept that we like use to make sense of reality. So once you understand that like fundamentally money doesn't exist, and yet we base most of our life on how to make it, how to keep it, how to like protect it, we can get into finally like what is money actually, what's the purpose of it, like what is it even used for? And you could kind of see it as like Robert Anton Wilson actually, I think, used this analogy. He's like, money is essentially survival tokens. They're like tokens that you give to other people in order to get things that help you survive. You got some survival tokens. This many survival tokens will get you a house. This many survival tokens will get you a car, food, whatever. A lot of people use their survival tokens to get fame and power and respect. But nonetheless, they're just like these imaginary tokens that we use to survive in the world. It's a stage zero pursuit, really. And stage zero is a really important stage, but it's still just stage zero. It's not even stage one yet. So understand, like, money is essentially a tool for survival. It's not the purpose of life. That old analogy that we've shared so many times, it's like saying that life is about making money is like saying that the purpose of a human body is to create blood. Like, blood is there to allow the body to exist. So money is for survival. And if you look out on like YouTube, Instagram, whatever, there are people who have made their entire life about accumulating as many survival tokens as possible and making that the entire game. And that's okay if you want to play that game, I guess, but we've already been talking throughout this whole retreat about the games that are higher level than that.